So, you want to hear a ghost story, do you? Well, I have the perfect one. It all took place at 2281 Marina Boulevard in San Leandro. It was the place that I. Ah, I'm so sorry about that. Anyway, yeah, it was the place that I bought as my first home. For so many years I was playing for the Raiders. It was crazy because, everybody would give me a bad time because I was living in a little condo out in Alameda. They were like, dude, you're wasting your money renting, man. You need to buy a house. It's like the best investment out there. And I was just like, I don't know. I'm not ready, man. And years would go by. They'd always give me a bad time. One time even, I ordered some pizza, and the delivery driver came in and he, stepped in and all that stuff. And he's looking around and he's looking at me. He's looking around, looking at me. He's like, you're Kenny Shedd, right? Plays for the Raiders, right? I'm like, yeah. He's like, why are you living here? I mean, I'm expecting you to live in this big freaking mansion. I mean, and I told him, it's like, dude, I keep it simple, bro. But that kind of stayed with me. Not that I felt that I needed to go out and buy a house because of a delivery driver or nothing like that, but it was just all kind of like I was been hearing those stories for so many years. So in 2000, I finally made the move. I felt comfortable, and I found a home out in San Leandro, and I said, you know what, it's time. Big 5-bedroom house sits right there at the corner. If anybody's familiar with San Leandro, it's a little sect of homes there, about 8 or so. If you weren't looking for it, you drive right by that like little road that you take to get in there to where the homes are, and but it sits right off there of Doolittle in Marina. So my real estate agent took me around, and I spotted that one, and I said, I have to have it. I have to have it. She's just like, well, there's like 3+ people bidding for it. I'm like, I don't care. This is my house. This is my first house ever. It's time. So she was able to make it happen. It actually turned out that the guy was actually a Raider fan, so that helped me out. The people in the neighborhood weren't happy because he gave me, not only did he let me get the house over everybody else, he actually gave me a really good deal too. So everything was just perfect with this house. Too bad it was haunted. But that's why we're here. We're here to talk about this beautiful first home that I got, and how I learned very directly and very clearly that spirits do exist. So in 2000, my mom ended up coming out and staying with me for the weekend. Pretty much, I had help getting. With movers and whatever and friends, whatever, getting the big stuff like sofas and all that stuff out the condo in Alameda and getting it down to San Leandro, to my new house. So, but that particular weekend, it was during the off season, so not much was going on. It was a perfect time to be moving. So I had my mom come out and she stayed with me, and we had a really good time. We did our normal thing, go out for ice cream, go sit by the water, and just kind of catch up and everything. And good dad, or mom son moment. And then we just kind of had fun doing it. So later that night, it was time to kind of clear out all the other stuff at the old home and kind of get it over there to the new home. So we load up the car, mom jumps in, we go out there and all that stuff. And it's been a long day anyway. So we're really kind of like gonna kind of finish up there, then just kind of chill for a little bit. And then my mom had a flight flying out that night, actually. So we get there to the house in San Leandro. I had been there, obviously, so a lot of everything was kind of I'd become familiar with. It had this like little alarm system, and in certain spots, just like most alarm security systems, you have the little probe. And then motion detector positioned here and there throughout the house. Again, I'm from Iowa, so we don't. There's places and where you can actually leave your door open throughout the night, and you're gonna be just fine because just these neighborhoods are really nice, and the crime is usually not that big of a factor in a lot of the areas in Iowa, Davenport especially. And that was the case. So when we get there and we get to my new house, my mom walks in and she's just like blown away by all these different things, like the motion detectors and stuff. She's like, "What's that? What's that there?" I'm just like, "Oh, it's a motion detector." And she gets around, she drops something down, and moves around, checks everything out. She's like, "Oh my God, this is a gorgeous house." I was like, "Isn't it nice?" So she wants to see the upstairs now, and now there's this like motion detector that's positioned kind of by the kitchen, and then it's traced on the stairs that lead upstairs to the bedrooms. There, we had like four, four bedrooms up there, and a den. So it was it was way overdoing it, to be honest with you. Somebody goes from a small condo to a five bedroom house, and it's just him. It was overdoing it. Well, it was me and my two dogs. So yeah, I mean, my dogs needed their space. So that was my rationale. So my mom, bless her heart, she starts upstairs and stuff, and then she stops. She noticed this noise. It was just like it would blink. She's like, what's going on here? She'd step back, and then it'd blink again, blink, blink, blink. Then she'd step back, and she's looking around. She's not understanding what's going on. She's like, "Why is it doing that?" And I was like, "Mom, it's the motion detector. There's another one right there, and it's on the stairs." She's like, "Oh my God, that's so cool." She saw where it was coming from, and then she did like this little cute, like little two-step upstairs, back, up the stairs, back, and she was like dancing. It was like blink, 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 blink. She's like, "Oh my God, that's so cool." I'm just like, "All right, Mom." It was adorable. But I really didn't notice it until really then too. I'm just like, man, that motion detector it's legit. I mean, it hits every like little step and every like little motion up there. So it was pretty cool. Anyway, we go upstairs and she finishes checking out the other rooms and stuff. She sees the master bedroom. She's like, "God dang!" And then she goes to the other side of the room of the house, and then there's two other bedrooms over there that are, legit size. And then there's this den down there, and I'm just like, "Mom, I literally don't know what I'm gonna do with all this space, but hey, I'm happy, and it's I'm gonna settle on in and kind of make this my home. And so she hugged me and she thought I did a really good job and she was proud of me and all that stuff. So we get all settled on in. The dogs are there and all that stuff, and they're having fun hanging out with their grandma and all that stuff too. Me and my mom kind of made dinner, settled on in and all that stuff after dinner. But then it became time to where I had to get her out to the airport. She took a late night flight or a later night flight back home, and it all worked out. So I come home, and now it's just me and my dogs. It's dark. I mean, it's not as lively. It's dark out, and obviously the house is like not as light as it was. And I'm looking around like, it's quiet. There's nobody in there. I didn't even have anything set up to be able to do music or anything yet, and all that stuff too. And cell phones weren't really that big by then too. So I'm like literally sitting there, kind of like, wow, this is kind of creepy. But okay, no big deal. So I settled on in. I'm still looking around at this massive house, and I'm very, very proud of myself again. So it was so cool that I was taking time sleeping in each room just to kind of like get a feel and say, okay, all right, this is all settled in. Then I'd sleep in the second room or whatever. Oh yeah, that one's all settled on in, and then I crashed down on the floor in the other bedroom that was downstairs and stuff. And I was just like a schoolboy just running around like, holy smokes, this is just great. Later at night, I remember falling asleep, and everything was all good up until I don't even know what time it was, but it was past midnight. I know that. Everything on our block was all quiet. But for some reason, I'm in bed, I can hear my dogs growling. That's usually not very typical, obviously, that time of night and everything. I'm just kind of like, what are they growling at? My dog's little Jaco, little rat terrier, and then my other dog, my first real dog, Sugar, a white Bichon Frise who has all the characteristics of a real girl. She was she was a very, very special dog, with emotions and all the different. Just I would take her to the pet store and they'd groom her up, and she looked completely different than a regular Bichon Frise. For some reason, I know why. I didn't like the beards that come with these Bichon Frises and stuff like that. Definitely didn't look good on my dog, and so I had them do her differently, and she looked like a little mix of a poodle, and she was adorable, and she was just a sweetheart. So I wake up because they're growling at something in that room. Obviously, it was the bed, and then where they were in the closets is where they would normally crash, like nuzzle down in my like clothes or whatever, clothes basket and stuff like that, and then that's where they would crash for the night. But I would leave the sliding door downstairs slightly open, for them, because if they had to go to the bathroom and all that stuff, they just would go in and out, and it wasn't that big of a deal. It wasn't that big of a space that I leave open because they weren't the biggest dogs. So I was just kind of like, I was woken up and I was like, what are they doing? And so all of a sudden, Jaco starts kind of like getting raised up, and now he's really kind of barking at something, really, really not just kind of like he's staying in the room, but something has his attention. Now I'm up and I can hear what he's hearing. So I could hear that noise that I remember hearing when my mom was walking up the stairs towards to the bedrooms. I could hear it now. It started out kind of faint, but then I'm listening to him say, "Wait a minute," and then it was like blink, 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 and and each time it would get louder. My dogs were getting louder too and barking like really growling, about ready to. But they wouldn't go out of the room. They would only go like a few steps outside the closet. But I'm just like, okay, what's going on there? And I'm thinking something's coming up those stairs. I didn't know what it was, but I felt comfortable that hey, my dogs aren't the biggest things, but if that's a cat or something like that, I'm sure that they're gonna have no problem taking it out, because I once saw those two dogs tear apart this freaking big old rat out in one of the other out in Alameda, I believe. It was like this big old rat that they came across, and I literally saw one of them, I don't know which one it was, bite a big old chunk out of this dang rat's stomach, and it was like the most bizarre thing I've seen. Like, this rat had this look at it and said, "Oh man," and it was like half of his stomach was gone. And then next thing you know, they both pounced on this thing, and then the thing was gone completely. I'm like, what the heck? So I knew for a fact that this tandem of dogs could take care of, if something's, like an animal or a raccoon or whatever is coming up the stairs, that they could handle it. But never once did they go outside, and then it would get louder. Blink, 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 blink. And I'm just like, okay, all right. So I kind of braced myself. I didn't know exactly what it was. And it kept getting closer and closer to the room we were in. And I was just like, holy crap. I don't have anything in here. So, whatever it was wasn't making like a lot of noise, like up the stairs. You didn't sound like couldn't hear footprints or stuff like that. So even if it was a person, I was just like, this is a little person. So, that was back in the days when I was playing. So I was loaded with muscles and stuff back in those days, and just, feeling confident. Dun, 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 let's do this type stuff. like this big old nasty NFL ball player. Like, somebody's up in my house. All right, let's do this. So I wasn't necessarily worried because, like I said, I couldn't hear no footsteps, but there was definitely something was coming up those stairs, and I was all ready, and then everything just got quiet, and the dogs kind of stopped, growling for a little bit. And then all of a sudden, from nowhere, I heard this loud. It was like the most scariest noise I've ever heard. It was a mixture of a pirate scream mixed with like Satan yelling something. And it carried all the way up the stairs and wrapped around into the room where we were. And it was like this force just blew right past us. I jumped up out of the bed. I'm in my underwear. Nothing but my underwear. I jump out of the bed. The dogs are going crazy, but they're like, now they run back into the closet, but they're still barking and all that stuff. And I jump up and I open the door to the window. I got half my body out, one leg hanging, and I'm about to go over the side. I'm like, the dogs were gonna have to be on their own, because I don't know what this thing is, but I'm out of here. I was scared to death. And then all I remember was just everything just grew still again. And the dogs stopped barking. There was no more noise downstairs. There was no more motion detector noise anywhere. There was no lights, nothing. It was just complete, utter silence from that point on. And I'm just like still hanging out this window, everything's shaking. I'm just like heart pounding, like, what the heck? And I stood there for about 5 minutes, I think, trying to calm down and figure out, okay, what's going on here? Am I sleeping? Am I still asleep? And I looked around and there was nothing. My dog stopped barking and they kind of came out of the closet. They looked up at me like, hey, you okay? I'm like, well, does it look like I'm okay? I was about to nosedive out of this second-story freaking bedroom, man, and I didn't care what was going to happen after that. I'm just like, whatever's coming, it's not real, it's not human, and it's about to cause some problems. I don't know what made it not, but after another 20 minutes, after I pulled myself together and I pulled my legs out of the window, I turned on the lights, and then I built up the courage to peek around the corner, and everything was just like it was. There was the lights were still off like they were. There was nothing on the stairs. There was nothing anywhere. And then so I was able to build up enough courage to go downstairs. I look around, and it was a new house, so there was not much furniture or much inside, nothing but boxes really. So there was nothing to really kind of block anything. If there was something down there, they wouldn't really be able to hide. So I went down there. I didn't see anything. There was nothing to the left in this room. There was nothing in the kitchen. There was nothing to the right. I looked, and the sliding glass door was exactly like I left it. There was nothing. It didn't get moved up or further apart or anything like that. Nothing was kicked over. Nothing. And I was just like in shock. And I was looking around, I was like, what the heck was that? And I realized after all that this was the house trying to tell me something, that, hey, look, you might be the new homeowner, but this is ours. We own this place. Or I don't know how you would describe, we possess this house or something like that. This is ours, I guess. And it was letting me know that very directly that, they were the boss. So I went back upstairs, turned on all the lights, obviously from downstairs upstairs, and I laid back down. I didn't sleep, but I laid back down to bed, and I just kind of just laid there for the rest of the night until morning time. And then I went back out and looked again. Like, there was nothing disturbed on the outside of the house. There was nothing anywhere really. I'm just like, something did not make sense, and so I came to the conclusion that those were spirits inside the house. So the only thing I could think of to do next was to basically address the spirits. And I said, hey, look, guys, I'm a new homeowner. This is my first house. By no means am I here to take anything from you. I realize that this is your space. This is your home. Uh, I'm just looking for a place to stay with four walls. That's it. You won't have any problems from me. Uh, I won't be doing anything to disrespect you guys in any way, shape, or form. Um, all I'm asking is just the ability to be able to stay here and enjoy my first home. It may sound crazy, but I never had anything happen close to that at all from that point on. And it was almost like we made an agreement, and and we worked together and we lived together in the same home from that point on. And wow, yeah, whew, still terrifies me to this day because I can't look around and make any sense of it. If it was a rat, who made the noise? Man, I don't even know what to say. But the reason why I needed to tell that story is because that right there was the beginning of my police career. Shortly after that, I ended up, just the timing, bad luck timing that I used to having is that that off season ended and it went into the regular season, and then that regular after the training camp, I ended up getting released by Gruden. So I had to make a decision. I'm just like, what do I do? Do I try to find another home? I ended up getting signed by at the time they were called the Washington Redskins, but I ended up getting signed by the Redskins the last eight games of the year. So I went out there and finished up my career. Had some friends stay at the house and kind of keep an eye on things and stuff while I was gone, because it was my new home. I was like, I ain't letting this thing go. And went out to Washington. I was there when Norv Turner was the coach, and then Deion Sanders was there. Who else? Jeff George was the quarterback, and Jeff George was actually the one who got me that gig with the Redskins. Jeff George and I had played together in with the Raiders. He was one of their quarterbacks, and then Gruden came, and he didn't like Gruden, and Gruden didn't like him. Gruden got rid of him. So, and then he got either traded or signed by the Redskins. And Jeff George and I, like I said, we were pretty tight with each other in Oakland. So so when it came time, Jeff brought it up like, hey, let's get this Kenny Shed guy in here. He's pretty solid on the special teams, so and we need some special teams help. Let's get him over here, and they signed me. So the last 8 games of the year, I was in Washington. Great city, by the way. It's super dangerous, obviously, but and the reason why I say that is because their crime rate is always the top in the nation. But the design of that city, with all the Capitol monuments and everything that goes with it, it's just like it's an amazing setup. But it's Washington D.C. It's all where the president, everybody, with our government is all based. So I highly recommend, if you haven't already, going to Washington D.C. For me, my job was to go out there and compete and try to impress these guys because I basically said to myself, I'm going to give this one last shot, this NFL thing. If I don't solidify myself as a hardcore, like a starter or something like that, get that big money contract that my mom always seems to think I had at that point. Everybody else too. No, that's only like for 3 to 5% of NFL players, man. The rest of us, freaking, we get the bare minimum. And that's our NFL career right there, man. Like 90% of us have to freaking scrape for beans, man. And go out there on special teams and try to keep their roster spot and all that stuff. So, and that was the case when I went out there to Washington. I was just like, you know what? I'm tired of getting my head pounded and all that stuff. So either I turn this thing around or it's going to be time. So I go out to Washington and I'm doing good, man. I put everything together. I told him, I'm so, hey, look, I'm not just here. And I told Coach Norv Turner that directly. I'm just like, look, I'm not just special teams. I'm a receiver too. There's a lot I can do for you guys. And so that's set the stage. So when I go out there, I remember we had a practice and Champ Bailey was one of the cornerbacks and stuff. I mean, all pro, Hall of Fame, Champ Bailey, just a freaking stud. So I do a route on Champ once in practice where I didn't break his ankles. I did something even worse. I made him look ghost on that play because I ran a comeback route on him, and he was thinking I was going deep, man. And I ran such a freaking crisp and clean comeback route. Pop! Turned around. He didn't even know I had stopped. He was full sprint going down the field because he just knew I was going deep, and I just broke him off, man. And when you watch the film, he's literally nowhere to be found, and I'm standing there. I turn around, I come back, and with a comeback route, you run 18 to 20 yards and stuff down the sideline, make it look like you're going to go route, and then you just break it off, boom, and then you come back, and the quarterback leads you, to the sidelines. So you catch the ball, and you're either, if you're surrounded by cornerbacks and stuff like that, you're probably going to just get your catch, and then you either get pushed out of bounds, but at least you're getting good yardage, and that's usually to get a first down. But if you run a good route, they're in the quarterback or the cornerback's not, didn't catch that. Now you have around the chance to do a catch and run. So if you can run comeback routes, it's a legit weaponry as a receiver. So in that one, I made Champ look really stupid because he wasn't even anywhere near on the film at all, and everybody's like kind of laughing and all that stuff. And we talked about it afterwards, man. He said, dude, that was one heck of a route, and he gave me my respect. And from that point, I started building a little bit of rapport with the others. My practices were really coming together. I was doing some really good things as a receiver. I was working my way in. They had like I don't know what his role was, but he was part of the player personnel department. His name was Charlie Brown. He was a former player as well. People may remember him. I'm quite sure he's with the Redskins too. Made a big name for himself, so he pulled me into the office as the season was wrapping up. We had like 1 or 2 games left, and he pulled me into the office, sits me down. Now, this is him reaching out to me. He called me into his office, and he's like, look, I don't know what's happened up until now with your other teams and all that stuff, but I can tell you right now, you got some skills. You're going to be a really good receiver, and you're going to be a big part of this offense and this team moving forward. So I just want to just let you know that. Keep doing what you're doing. We're going to go into the offseason. We're going to get some work in, and I'm really excited for what you're going to be able to bring to this team. And I'm just like, yeah. At the time, I'm being cool. I probably had my sunglasses on and, was kind of smoking a cigar or something like that at that time, too, to try to be all cool because, that's how you had to do it. And but in the inside, I was like, oh, my God. These are the words I've been waiting for forever. Oh, I was like on cloud 9 and just like, oh, it was great. So back to me and my luck. Norv Turner gets fired. They bring in another coach. He doesn't make it. And then everybody got fired because they brought in Marty Schottenheimer. Ooh. I know he just passed away, and I'm not trying to sound disrespectful in that thing, but Marty Schottenheimer, he was with the Chiefs, and he was the worst person ever. Anyway, And then he came in and, and he tried, I don't know why they hired him as a head coach. Dude was way, way past his prime and just a whole super overrated and just this old school way of, coaching that just had nothing to do with the NFL at that time. And if I sound bitter, I'm really not. It's just my voice just carries, I guess, on Tuesdays. Um, but no, anyway, yeah, I wasn't very happy when I heard that Marty Schottenheimer was going to be brought in as a coach because I knew exactly what that was going to mean. And sure enough, I read in the paper, they gave a breakdown. Marty Schottenheimer comes in, makes his evaluations, and then each person who was on the roster that year before, they had like a quick like a dispo on what's going to happen with them. Will be resigned. Will may make the team. Will be invited to training camp or whatever. Still has 4 years on contract or whatever. And then you get by the ones who didn't have a chance, and that was me and several others. And it said, "Will not be back" in bold lettering. And I was like, God dang it, I knew it. So there you go. That's how everything wrapped up with the NFL, man. I said, you know what? I'm done. I'm done. I come back home. I got my new house, and living life back home because now I'm having parties and social gatherings and all that stuff, and just living it. And I had already made my mind up that yeah, no, I'm done. I'm not going to be traveling and trying to start up my NFL career at another team. I'm done. And it became time to devote my time and attention to being a police officer. That's where I was working towards anyway. I had spent 8+ years in the NFL. Did some things. It just didn't work out the way I would have hoped, obviously. But it was a great experience, but it was time to move on. And so one of the things that was meaningful about this house, not only because it was my first house and stuff like that, but it was definitely covered what I needed at that point, because despite it all, getting released and all that stuff, every time I came home, I walked in and I was just like immediately relieved and just went back out, because I'm like, look what I just did. I did this all by myself. I found this beautiful home all by myself. I don't need the NFL. Forget those guys and stuff like that. This is my home. I can turn the music up as loud as I want now because I'm not living like in an apartment or whatever, and I won't get in trouble for turning my music up loud. And I would do that. Boom! I'd have like gatherings and stuff like that, and as long as it wasn't too loud or too crazy and all that stuff, this is the place. People were, I still was holding on to my friends who I played with. I'd still invite them over. It was, I keep in contact with even the guys who were still with the team and stuff. They want to come over and just kind of get a break from things. This was the haven, it was the spot. It really was, and it gave me the type of chance to kind of reprocess things, kind of reprogram my brain, and I didn't have any other really outside factors to cause any really true disruption. Now I can start really, really turning things over and saying goodbye to the NFL and then embracing the police thing. Actually, I didn't know that becoming a cop was going to be that difficult. I mean, it was almost as tough as making an NFL team. I started out with Fremont, tried to put in for Fremont Police, almost made it with those guys, but I don't know. I said something boneheaded towards the last at the end, and then I got disqualified. It wasn't that big of a deal because Fremont had a bunch of budget cuts after that. Shortly after that. So even if I had gotten hired, I would have gotten fired right away anyway. So, but then I tried Hayward. I think I got disqualified from Hayward because I answered in a boneheaded way when they asked a simple question when it came to prioritizing calls for service. And it was one where they asked, like,
What do you do if you see somebody, you're patrolling, you see somebody throw a piece of paper out of their car, like for littering, and then at the same time, you hear or you see somebody arguing with another person up the road at that time, and then you around that exact same time, the alert tone goes off and there's a shooting. What do you do? And the simple answer is very, very simple. I mean, I can answer it now, but at the time, if you answer it now, well, obviously you would report officers that you just or dispatch. Hey, you may want to have a unit check on these two. I just saw them yelling at each other. Unknown if it's anything major, but maybe drive by. I'm going past. I'm going to the shooting call, and you go to the shooting call. That's as simple as it gets. But my dumb butt says, "Well, I would have gone up to the guy who threw out the trash can or the trash piece of trash out and said, 'Hey, you need to stop and go back there and pick that up.' At the same time, I would have driven up to the two who were fighting, like, 'Okay, you guys, you need to figure this out, okay, and just go your separate ways or whatever.' I would have dealt with them right quick on my way to the shooting call. I would have handled all that like at the same time is what I basically said. And they said, they didn't say it at the time, but they gave me that look. And I was like, yeah, this dude's a no. So, but you're a new cop. You don't know, or you don't know exactly what you're supposed to be saying. What do these guys want to hear? I mean, each one is different. I mean, I thought I changed my answers according to what Fremont told me to say. And then that doesn't work for Hayward. And then, once I got eliminated for Hayward, then I tried for Oakland, and then I didn't. They definitely didn't like what they heard me say. I was too passive, I guess. In Oakland, there's so much going on. You got to be dialed in, and I guess my answers weren't as aggressive as it needed to be. So Oakland was a no. So I'm quite depressed. Obviously, I'm just, because it was almost like a year plus that I've tried to find a home, and I can't go. I can't get like signed on by anybody, and so here I am. Just got released from the NFL, and I'm no longer in that one, and now I can't find my second dream job and all that stuff. So I was getting down in the dumps. So this is where it gets all interesting. So I'm at the house. Just still kind of doing my own thing and all that stuff, just kind of chilling. Yeah, that's the perfect word. I was really, really just chilling, not really worrying about too much because I just, there's only so much you can worry about. And then anybody who spends time in the NFL and you survive those type of years, you just start getting tough mentally, and you just start figuring out ways just to make it through and just know, hey, look, that ain't that bad, just keep fighting and it's gonna all work out. So that was probably how I was, and that's probably one of the only real reasons why I was able to kind of stay focused and stay true to myself as far as like not to give up. So I'm just chilling at the house, and then all of a sudden someone starts knocking on my door. It's nighttime, and it was my neighbor. I opened the door, and he's like, "Kenny, somebody just smashed your car window." I'm just like, "What?" Yeah, they just ran by, smashed your car window. They ran this way. I tried to follow them, but then they just disappeared. There was a group of them, and they split up, and I'm just like, "What? Oh no!" And I threw my shoes on, and I had no clue where I was even running to, but I just ran after where he said they went. And I'm running, and I'm just like looking around, like thought that I was just like a stud, like, oh, I'll wait till I find these guys. But I had no clue who I was chasing after. I didn't know what they looked like. I didn't know where they went. It was ridiculous. So once I realized that number one, I don't have a coat on and it's freezing. And I have no clue where I'm at right now, actually, because I was kind of new to the area, and I'm just like, I can't find these guys. So I go back to the house, and I see the neighbor again. He's just like, "Dude, I called the police." So I'm just like, "Really?" And I look at my whole rear window of my SUV was smashed in. It had this big old giant boulder in there. It was one of the boulders from my landscaping was sitting in the back of my freaking vehicle. And I was like, who freaking did this? I didn't think I had any enemies or anything like that. I mean, was it a Chiefs fan? Was it a Niners fan or something who, wanted to try to strike back at me for all the stuff that I be talking about with those guys or something? I don't know. So I'm sitting there, and then the cops come. There's this awesome dude he still is San Leandro police officer, very tall, just a perfect looking police officer in my opinion. He pulls up in his car. It's like, sir, is everything? Or we recall here a report of vandalism. Are you okay? And I'm just like, well, I'm okay, but look at my car. It's like, whoa, wow, damn, they did destroy that. I'm like, any idea? He gets out, he looks at the damage, he puts out on the radio. I'm watching this guy just kind of operate. He was so poised and so professional. I mean, he did everything he could to get all the information from me. I didn't have anything, and he got more information about the kids from my neighbor, and just a really polished police officer. So, but he did the best he could. I did the best I could to try to find him. My neighbor did the best he could. And so what we all kind of came up with is this, like, hey, let's, there's only so much we could do tonight. Maybe if we hear more, I will give you guys a call, to report it and all that stuff. And the officer said, okay, well, I will patrol, check the area. I'm working a night shift and all that stuff. And, so, but just know I'll be around. And I was just like, all right, thanks, officer. He drives off. And that was it. I go back home or go back inside, and I kind of like fall asleep for the night and everything. Next day, I get up and I'm kind of cleaning up the glass and all that stuff. And then another police officer comes. It's a different one. And he comes in and he's like, hey, we heard about what happened. I want to do a follow-up with you. Is there any further information? So I had heard that it was a friend of a neighbor, and they had gotten into an argument with the neighbor, and then decided just to smash something on their way out of the block or whatever. And it happened to be my car. It was nothing personal, but they just were just like, ornery kids who were mad and trying to show off. So they smashed my car, and so I told that officer that, and he's like, oh, wow, okay, all right. And, he's like, I'm going to follow up with the neighbor and all that stuff. Just, again, another strong, powerful, and very respectful officer. When I say powerful, I mean like confident. Not like anything else. There was just, that's what I associated that with. They were just very, very confident, very clear, and straightforward police officers who seemed like they were very focused on their job. To me, that's a powerful way to be. And so that's what I attributed that to. And I was impressed. I can definitely say that I was impressed by how these SLPD officers were handling themselves and stuff. So. He goes, and I think he makes contact with the neighbor, comes back, says he found out a little bit more information. Can I come in? I want to take a more detailed statement from you, all these different things. And I'm like, wow, okay, this is a lot, but, I mean, I got insurance. It's going to be okay, but, okay, yeah, come on in. And so he does, takes a full statement, and then, do you want to press charges type stuff? And I'm just like, man, I don't know about all that stuff. But he's like, well, this is just how we do it. We investigate all crimes and all that stuff and stuff. So once that was done, he wraps up, and then he goes and he leaves. And then I get a phone call from the detective. So the report gets forwarded to the detective. The detective calls me. The detective says, hey, I did some more investigation into the situation. It sounds like we have the person who did it identified. And this is his name. He lives around the corner or whatever, and he's part of whatever gang and all that stuff. And just, I mean, he's one of those wannabe gang members and stuff like that. And I was just like, man, freaking San Leandro is legit. These guys are on it. All this was like within days. They had already had the guy identified. It sounded to me like they were like gonna be focused on kind of like going and making contact with the guy and trying to hold him responsible or accountable for what he did. And I was standing back watching the show. I was like, okay, yeah, all right, cool. Just keep me posted. So I get another phone call a little bit later saying, hey, we went to go try to talk to the guy and at his house, and it turns out that his mom made him go stay with his grandma or grandparents out in one of the city. I don't want to say the name, but it's about an hour away. So the parents had him go stay with the grandparents out there. I'm like, oh wow, okay. Just to kind of let things die off and all that stuff. I'm like, okay, well, cool. That works for me. I mean, he's a kid. I'm not really, I was a kid too and all that stuff. I'm quite sure I might have thrown a rock trying to play a game and throw a rock at one of my friends or whatever, and it sailed over his head and smashed somebody's window. I'm sure that's what happened. I mean, 100%. I was a kid too, so I kind of understood it. The problem comes when, unfortunately, this is how you know how life is full of twists and stuff that you don't see coming. Unfortunately for the kid, while he was in that city, staying with his grandparents, he got into it with some other gang members out there in that city, and he got shot and killed. So, ow, man, I don't even know what to say to that. I still think about that, and I feel so bad for the kid, But at the same time, I mean, this is the life that the kid chose to do and take. It starts off. I can't even tell you how many times, and that's down the road. But I can't tell you how many times as a police officer that I would see a kid who started out stealing, and then you take him into custody for that, and then next thing you know, you go to another call. Now this guy's in a fight with another gang member or punch somebody and stuff. Then you take him into jail for that one. Like, dude, what are you doing? And next thing you know, he's in jail for armed robbery, where he shot somebody. So now he's in freaking San Quentin, because now he's not a kid anymore. Now he's an adult and he's gone and this is where they started. So that's what I kind of think happened with this kid. I mean, unfortunately, he wasn't able to turn things around soon enough, and that's what ended up happening. So, in reality, I was so impressed by everything, that San Leandro PD was able to do, that I ended up calling the officers who came out and took the report and saying, dude, can I do a ride along with you? I did a ride along with them and showed me the city, and the city actually reminds me of where I grew up. I'm just like, this can't get any better. I don't know how I did not think of this before. I'm just like, freaking, I love this place. I love the city. I love the name, powerful name. People who know me, I love strong sounding people. I love strong sounding names. I love people who are very confident in what they're doing and how to do it and all that stuff. And the name San Leandro, I don't know. It's a very unique name, and there's something about it just sounds straight like it's very strong name. So I fell in love with the place, and then fell in love with the police department. After the ride along, I'm just like, I have to get on with this department. So those officers were able to help me, apply. They helped prep me for my written test, which I did a good job. I did the physical, which was a great challenge and all that stuff, because it's not like it's easy. You have to run 2 miles, and then you got to do an obstacle course. You got to carry this dummy, this almost 100 pounds, a certain distance, and then you got to get back up and run up these stairs and come back down, and end it with a jump over a 6 to 7 foot, banister or whatever that's supposed to be like you're going over a wall, and then in a certain time. So everything was challenging. Then you have whatever interview that's challenging, but I was so focused at that time that I was just like, nah, I don't care. I'm making this happen. And then so I became a San Leandro police officer, and it was a fun thing. I mean, as soon as I got that badge and going out there on my own, I was able to live my dream, and everything about it was really cool. But you guys have to understand that this was back in like 2000, in the early 2000s, man. I mean, things were different back then, 100% different than they are now. I remember, I mean, I'm old school. I was taught the old school ways of dealing with suspects and, people who try to challenge the police. I mean, you gave them their chances, but if they were continually being a knucklehead, you literally had to enforce the law, which whatever that meant, you had to take care of business and stuff. So you had to really kind of find your style. For me, I had I kind of was a well-rounded, and I wanted to be a well-rounded police officer. My primary trainer, FTO, really kind of pushed for me to be well-rounded. But one of the things that I really kind of took a specialty to was dealing with the disturbances, especially domestic violence type situations. To me, domestic violence situations were always ones where you kind of had a green light to kind of take care of business, and despite how the suspect was acting, you kind of had the ability to kind of use whatever force necessary to make the arrest, because California is really, really, really hard on domestic violence, which is how it should be. But at the same time, I mean, you need the courts need the cooperation of the victim. Otherwise, the case usually goes south. But for those, and me knowing that, I would always handle those calls with the super sense of importance at that time, because we needed to, in my eyes, we needed to make sure that the victim had some small sense of justice. So I remember going to a call once where the couple 911 calls were from this residence. We get there, there's this girl who's very quiet, and then her boyfriend is in the background, like, talking trash. What the heck you guys doing here, man? Nobody called 911. Well, we got a 911 call coming from here. It doesn't matter, man. You can't come in my house. I'm just like, well, we kind of have to make sure that she's okay. And you guys are okay. Well, you can't come in my house, man. You look at her; she's fine. Ain't you right? Ain't you fine, babe? And she's like terrified. I'm just like, sir, yeah, I get it. Okay, we still have to come and make sure. Can you just unlock the door? Let us come in. We'll take care of business. Make sure everything's all right, and we'll get out of here. No, F you. You can't come in here, man. Just a loud mouth. I was there for like 20 minutes. It was almost like my partner felt like we were there too long too. I'm just like, I don't know. I mean, from the beginning, those are calls that really sunk with me. I felt that there was more we should and could be doing for these victims and stuff. So, I was the primary, and I made the decision, regardless if that officer felt that we had overstayed our welcome and it was time to leave. No, we're not leaving. So, just keep an eye on him. I'm going to keep talking to her. So I would kind of move her over a little bit further to the right side of the door, while Loudmouth was over there on the left side of the door, kind of talking to my partner. And I was really just kind of reassuring her with soft words like, hey, it's going to be okay. We're not here to make problems or make the situation worse. We just have to make sure you're okay. I'm just like, can you just lock the door and just, invite us in? We'll just, And as I was doing that, I was able to see in better light that she had a black eye. So, and her eye was swollen. So that really gave us the probable cause that we needed to really kind of push this. And I knew that. So, and I didn't really have time to tell my partner that and all that stuff. Like, hey, pipe down over there. We're not leaving. We're staying here, however long it takes. So, finally, after, like I said, about 30 minutes and stuff, the victim felt comfortable, and she took a deep breath and said, okay, I'll unlock the door. And then so she unlocks the door. As soon as she did that, we're inside the house. She said, "Come on in. We're inside the house." He's like, "Hey, you can't get in." And we're like, "Get on the ground." Boom, boom. The fight's on. He tries to resist and stuff. And he might have got an arm twisted here and there, but it was what they call arm bar, the proper way to use force to affect the arrest is what we utilize. But he didn't think that that was right, regardless, and all that stuff. Then he started screaming like a baby, and then so obviously he got handcuffed and taken to jail. And the whole time he's all distraught and all that stuff. And, for that short moment, which I'm quite sure that and she even told us, she's like, and I already knew it too, because she was already calling the jail to see how much his bail was going to be and all that stuff. So you already really kind of knew that that things were going to work out and they were going to talk things out and he was going to be able to come back and all that stuff. But for what I did was I felt it was our job as police officers to do what we had to do. And we were given the green light and the authority to do so with the blessing of the state. So no, I wasn't going to leave there until that dude was in handcuffs, and I was able to take it full circle, and the dude went to jail, and So I also, there was this other call where I went to. I'm not going to say the name of the officer, but most officers know what it's like, and they feel empathy for the victim. And on this particular call. Same thing, domestic violence. The girl who was the victim had flagged down the officer, and she got lit up pretty good. And so the officer asked for cover units and stuff. The one, I think, officer stood with the victim, maybe even assisted her by taking her to the hospital, while the primary officer put plans together to go make contact with the suspect. And those things they hurt your heart, to be honest with you. You see this innocent victim, that nothing could make it to where it could justify that type of those type of injuries to in this case she was a female, any type of victim anyway, and it just breaks your heart. And I was so happy that this officer, I have a lot of respect for this officer anyway. He's one of those well-rounded police officers too. He could, track down guns left and right from vehicles, stolen cars, all these different things. And he can resolve a group fight just because of his funny nature. But it's funny in a way that's very direct as well. And people just love him. Even as criminals out there just love him. Like, dude, okay, all right, we'll back off. We'll leave. Yeah, we'll leave. And then he resolved the situation just through his words and stuff. So this guy was a legit police officer. I was definitely high on his abilities out there. And on this particular case, he made his decision that he wasn't going to leave without the suspect going to jail too. So we go to the house. It was actually a trailer. We go to the trailer, and he has units, stationed, positioned around the trailer. And we could see the guy. All lights are off in the trailer. We could see the guy snoring, and hear him snoring on the couch. Because she has said that he had done meth or drunk a bunch of alcohol, and so he was toasted. And he was like sprawled out on the couch, and just we knock on the door. He's out, and we're banging on the door. He's out. He literally is not waking up or anything like that. But you can hear him snoring. Finally, we keep knocking. He's like, "What? Who is it?" "It's the police. Open the door." "F you guys, man. I'm not opening nothing." And true to form, like I said, you can get away with some things back in the days that you can't definitely get away with now. But that officer, who's as sharp as they come, found an open window, and there was this broom. He picks up the broom, starts just kind of not whacking him hard, but just enough to where it's bugging the heck out of this dude on the couch. He's like, "Open that door." open the door. It was hitting him around his ears and stuff. The dude swatting the broom away. He's like, leave me alone. He's like, open the door. Open that door. No, I'm not opening the door. Dude, open that door. Whop, whop. He's like, leave me alone. He's in a, he was so irritated and just kind of mad that he rolled off the couch and he's just like, now he's on the floor. And he like goes back to trying to sleep again. And then the officer was able to find like this little bench that gave him a little bit more room to stand on. And now he could reach in there and now he can get him on the floor too. Open that door. Open the door. Whack, whack. And it's not hurting him. It's just super irritating. He's like, open that door. For 5-10 minutes, he's like, you open that door now. Open the door. It's like, dude, leave me alone. Why are you guys doing this? Leave me alone. I just want to sleep. No, open the door. Another 5 minutes goes by, and this dude's like, okay, okay. And he rolls over, reaches up and unlocks the door. He's like, man, come on in. We go in, handcuff him, click, click. He goes to jail. And full circle, baby. That's the great part about being a police officer is that you had the ability to save someone's life, change someone's life, and affect someone's life in a positive way. You guys won't believe this, but I saved 4 lives as a police officer. One time there was a lady who tried to commit suicide. Did her car just ran her car over the barriers and into the marina, and tried to kill herself. But so she's wading out into the water, and I go out there. I'm the first on scene, and I get her to stop wading further away, out into the deep. And I said, "No, listen to me. Lock into my voice, okay?" And she did. And she's after a while, it took a minute. There's bystanders around, and I said, tune out everything, any noise, everything. Just focus on my voice, okay? She's like, okay. I'm like, that water's cold. Can you please come back towards me and let's just talk about everything? And she fought me for a minute, but then she realized, because I kept coming at her, no, seriously, I'm there for you. Those are, again, those strong and very direct but soft words are what she locked in on. And it's just skills that you learn from some of the other officers around you who are senior to you, the ones you respect. You just pick up all the good, positive things from them. And that's one thing I picked up. And I was able to get this girl to focus on me, and she swam all the way in, and got out of harm's way, because if she had kept going, that tide was going to take her out there, and she just wasn't going to make it. So I get her back to the shore, and by that time, the other officers had arrived on scene, and I just kind of like stepped back because, and they helped her get out of the water, and by then the ambulance was there and all that stuff. So, I went back to what I was doing, which was I was having my lunch. And I didn't need anything out of it. That's just how it works being a police officer. There was another time I was actually on my lunch too, and I was at what this restaurant called Harry's Hofbräu, and I just happened to be there, and we get a call of a medical call of a guy who's checking on his welfare because he called 911 saying he's having problem breathing. So I go there, and I made contact with him, and I talked to him. He was actually having a heart attack. So the fire department gave me credit because they said I was able to talk him through, keep him calm, and kind of help him get in a more comfortable position inside the car until they got there, because the dude was having a heart attack, and I helped keep him focused so he didn't go into shock. And it was rewarding. Then another time, I helped pull a guy out of a car that was catching on fire. And then another one, there was one where I'm the first on scene of a shooting. There was 3 victims in the car who had gotten shot and killed, three youngsters. and but there was two other people who had gotten shot, kids who had gotten shot, but they were located underneath the ones who had gotten killed. So they were getting squished. One got shot in the lungs, and she couldn't breathe. So we were able to, when one of the firemen got there, and we were able to both get her out, get those two victims out of the car, on the ground, and I was able to get her in a position to keep her from going into shock while the firemen made a bandage to where they were able to assist her where the bullet wound went in and out of her lungs so she could breathe. So we found out later that she had a collapsed lung and that she couldn't breathe, and then if she had stayed in that car much longer, she was going to suffocate. So, yeah. Do I sound a little bit emotional? 100%. I mean, these things are, it comes with the job. You see some stuff that just is not normal, not natural, and I mean, I think police officers are unfairly typecast as villains, and 90 to 95% of them are like saints. Sent from the heavens to help society make it, because without them, the society would have burned down a long time ago. So police officers, they're highly trained, highly skilled, and they're confident in what they're doing, and and so I just followed my training when it came to these incidents and stuff like that. So I have a lot of fond memories of being a police officer. I've met a lot of good fellow officers and stuff to this date. The officer who responded for the vandalism call is still one of my best friends. I talk to him still to this day, and he's going to continue finishing out his career. He has other things going on too, but he's the model police officer. Who just kind of does his own thing and does his style, but he's very confident in his skills. So, I have a lot of good memories. So when I just got the mentioning that I saved 4 lives, there's another story I want to share before I wrap this episode up, that I helped save another person's life in a different way. So you have to picture this, right? So I'm from Davenport, Iowa. Davenport is it's about the same size of San Leandro, as 120,000 people. San Leandro is bigger than 90-something thousand, like they say. I don't know why they keep it at that, but it's definitely bigger than that. But it's about the same population as Davenport. But there's pockets of Davenport that are really, really bad, just like any other city and all that stuff. But it's just a lot of times, you have people in high school who just haven't learned to be responsible, and they're living off the streets and stuff, and then they get drunk and then they act a fool and all that stuff. That's the way it's going to be as well. And it's just, they're ones who probably started being incorrigible kids in middle school or whatever, and they just never had some type of mentor to pull them aside and kind of straighten them out, So in this particular case, there was a group of young kids who were middle school age, and they would always go to the Bayfair Mall in San Leandro, and they would cause problems. That was right during the time when I said, you know what, I want the Bayfair Mall, because I felt like I wanted to help make some changes and stuff and run that bad vibe out of there, man. It was trying to, it was turning into like the New Jack City of the Carter of San Leandro, man. It was really, really bad. You had these really bad groups, and I'm not typecasting anybody, but you can picture whatever type of group I'm talking about, or whatever, just loud mouths and stuff coming in, drunk, acting a fool, with that gang vibe and all that stuff, trying to run things. And it was going on for so long that they really were taking over the place, and the vendors there were suffering badly because of it. I said, you know what? I've never really been the type of person who, dismisses a challenge. And I said, let me do the mall. I'll do it. I go in there and so I signed up to do the mall. I go out there and I took it personally. I really did. So, um, but anytime I'd have one like type of element calm down and all that stuff, then I turn around there's another group of freaking people acting a fool, either spray painting the mall or doing all kinds of stuff that's just so ridiculous. It's just not even giving the mall a chance to recover from all the other days that it was damaged through like a big old riot or something like that. And so I was getting mad at that stuff. So I'm the officer. I'm the only, sworn police officer who's assigned to the mall. So my workday consisted of being posted up inside the mall, or I'd drive around if there was a theft or there was any type of disturbance or something like that. They would call me, or I'd have a radio linked to the mall security, so we worked hand in hand. They would call me. Your call sign was 4041. And as soon as I showed up on duty, I would always turn it on. Yes, 4041 working. We got a guy, suspicious person doing this. I'm saying, oh my God, already? I haven't even had my coffee yet. Oh, okay, let me go. So on this, so for a while there, I was getting these calls where they would call, hey, 4041, that group of freaking juveniles is back again. They're over in the food court now, and they're bothering customers, and then they're just acting stupid. So I said, okay, all right, meet me over there. So I get my car, drive around to the food court, and there they were. It was like 6 or 7 of them. There's this tall kid, and there's a reason why I'm singling him out, because you'll see what I'm talking about. So there was this tall kid. I didn't know his name at the time, but there was something very striking about this kid. I mean, he had these awesome dreads. Maybe because I don't have any hair, so it's just kind of like, so I see this, I'm just like, man, that's some cool hair, man. But some other people don't like dreads and stuff like that. But for whatever reason, it made him stand out. It looked tough. It looked cool. And you can just tell he had this look of confidence about him anyway. And the other ones were not as tall as him. So he definitely stood out. So when I started going through these type of calls, and it was always the same group, my eyes would always fixate on him, because it was like they were doing all the disturbances and acting a fool while he was standing in the background, kind of watching and just kind of like reveling in what they were doing. I was like, wait a minute, this guy's a freaking leader. Every time that there was a call, it didn't matter. We'd go, some days I'd go and, they'd see me, and then they just like, okay, let's go. And they'd take off running just like little kids or whatever and all that stuff. And then I'd get called the next day. Hey, that same group, they're now 2 of them are inside the store of Macy's or whatever, and they're stealing stuff. I'd go there and then I'd watch them. One would go running in, and then they'd run out, and then they'd stage the stuff on the outside walls, and then they'd go back in and all that stuff. And then, and I'm watching them do this, and then they didn't know me. They didn't know I was there. And, and then I can hear the security's like, yeah, I got the other 2 over here, and then the leader's on that side over there. So basically he's on the other side of where all this is taking place, which I'm sure he told these guys to do it. So, and they're doing it with no questions asked. Their leader said, go steal some stuff. So that's what they're doing. So I'm watching these guys loading these store wall, or the floor by the store up. And then I go over there, what are you guys doing? Oh, shoot. Oh, shit, let's go. And then they take off running and all that stuff. Problem solved. I'm not going to chase after them, all that stuff, because they're being kids and stuff like that. But the situation was resolved, because all I did was just grab the clothes and then take them back to Macy's. And those guys, that's all they wanted anyway. And then the kids were gone. And so, but they were really, really terrorizing this place. So the next day we go, I get a call. I show up at the mall actually, and I see that they just got them renovating the mall, and it looked really nice. Walls were freshly painted. They had like new planters, like for landscaping type stuff and decor. And I go in and I walk in. I'm like, what happened? And there's like dirt all over the place. All the plants, a lot of the plants got turned over and shredded and thrown and all that stuff. And it just looked like a mess down this one hallway of the mall. I'm just like, what happened? He's like, our group again. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. They were terrorizing some people and all that stuff. And we came and tried to get them to leave, and they started acting a fool. And and breaking stuff and throwing stuff at us. And that's what they did. They were throwing plants over at them and smashing those things. And I was like, this has got to stop. I'm like, well, where are they now? I was like, well, they took off running. And, I'm just like, oh, man, when you guys see them, you need to call me right away before you even go to them. Call me. All right. And then so we came up with our plan. So later that day, I'm posted up and everything. I'm waiting for the call. Sure enough, here it comes over the radio. 4041. 41, go ahead. Yeah, they're back. They're on the opposite side of the mall now, over by the theater, and they're throwing rocks at the security people. And I'm just like, okay, all right, I'm going to be right there. So I drive around. I can see them from a distance. I'm not really on scene just yet, but I can see them, and it's like their group. It's like 5, 6 of them, and then, but just as I get close, the whole thing kind of resolved itself anyway. I guess the kids had gotten tired, so they were already walking off the property anyway. So this time I said, I'm going to do something different. So I kept my eyes on the tall one, right? The tall one with the dreads. I already know he's the leader. And I'm just going to watch him for a little bit, see what happens. So, I follow them, kind of creep in my car. I follow them as they kind of say their goodbyes. 2 of them were on bikes, and a couple of them were on bikes, I guess. And so and a couple on skateboards or whatever. So after they were done, they hugged, gave dap or whatever. Then 2 went that way, the other one went this way. And then my leader guy found went over to where a bike was that was stashed and stuff like that. And then he gets on the bike and he starts riding off. So I'm just like, all right, let me see what's happening here. So he doesn't see me the whole time. I'm behind him the whole time. So he leaves. He rides his bike off the property. He passes all the businesses and stuff like that, and then he goes down this one residential road. It's kind of a far bike ride away from the mall. So I'm still behind him, and he's none the wiser. He pulls down this one like little side street, down this other neighborhood that I'm familiar with and all that stuff. He gets to this little condo, and then he puts his bike up, and I'm still watching him. He has no clue. So he puts his bike up, and he starts to go up the stairs to go to the house, but then he stops. He changes his shirt to a collared shirt, puts that on. He has his glasses. He puts his glasses on, and he fixes his hair differently. And then he's like, and he goes inside the house. And I'm just like, what? And then you can kind of see, privacy laws prevents me from kind of doing too much after that, other than, I can just hear him talking to someone who turned out to be his mom. I'm like, what the heck? And it was like his voice was different. He was happy sounding, and just that thuggish sound in his voice had suddenly disappeared. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So I waited a little bit. And then, about 5 minutes later, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm about to fix this. So I go and I knock on the door. And it's him. He opens his door. He's like, hi, officer. I'm like, hey, man, how you doing? He's like, I'm good. How is everything okay? I'm like, yeah. Is your mom home? And he looks, and he knew, I already knew. And he's like, yeah, she's in the room. She's in the kitchen cooking. I was like, oh, yeah, can you have her come out here right quick? And he's like, okay, Mom, there's a police officer out here to talk to you. She's like, okay. And she comes around, and you could just tell she's like, has all the makings of this hardworking mom, with this beautiful aura about herself. And this sincere look. When she saw me, she looked super like concerned, like, hey, officer, what's going on? I'm just like, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? I know you're doing dinner. I'm not trying to keep you, but I have to tell you a little bit about your son's activities. And she's just like, what do you mean? And I'm just like, here's what I've been seeing. He goes to the mall. He does this and this and this. And I want to give him credit, because it's not like he's a follower or anything like that. He is truly the leader of this group. The only problem is that this is what he's telling this group of people to do, and this is what they're doing, and he's right in the mix, so he's just as culpable as everybody else. And she's like, what? I'm like, yeah. The other day, they just destroyed the decor that comes with, that they have in the mall, threw plants all over the place, smashed all these different things and all these decorations and stuff, pulled them down. And she's like, you're kidding me. I'm just like, no, I took pictures. I can show you pictures if you want. She said, no, that's not necessary. And like, then there's also times when he'll tell his kids, or his minions, to go in there and freaking steal for him. And she looked at him. Are you kidding me? Is this what's going on? And he just put his head down like he was about to start crying. And she's just like, officer, I want to say thank you for what you did. And I was like, no problem, ma'am. I just didn't think you knew. And I felt you would want to know, I mean, like I said, he's showing a lot of leadership skills, and that's great. She's just like, I'm like, do you want to come out to the mall one day and help, go talk to want me to give you the number to the mall security? You can talk to them too. She's like, no, it won't, that's unnecessary. This will not be a problem. I can promise you that 100%. I'm like, okay, so I'm good here. She's like, you're good. You have a great day, rest of your day, officer. I really appreciate you coming. And she shook my hand and she walked out. She walked me out. And then it's so funny. I can picture the look in his face. I looked back, and then when she closed the door, she had the look of pure evil when she turned around back at her son. And he put his head down, and he just knew it. Woo! I drove out of there like so happy. I knew that the situation was going to be taken care of one bit. That's the last thing that needed to be presented to the hard-working mom. She was a single mom trying to raise this kid who was in that ornery stage. And guess what happened? I never saw that kid at the mall ever again. Mom took care of business immediately. From that point on, I wasn't seeing him at the mall. I'd drive by the school, and he started going to after school programs. You could see him on the school playground he was just in middle school at the time. You could see he was either taking part whatever activities that they had after school. A lot of the times he would be playing basketball with some of the other kids who were doing it after school. And a couple different times I'd drive by, he'd look at me and he'd wave, and then he'd go back to hitting that 3-pointer or whatever. It was something so unreal beautiful that it was such a beautiful thing on so many different levels. And the story actually gets 10 times better. So he goes on to high school, and still again, he does all kinds of good things and stuff. And I don't ever hear from him anymore. I see him walking from school, and there would be a fight or a large gathering. He's walking the other way, totally separate himself. He has his backpack on his back, and he's heading home. And he looks completely different. So fast forward 3-4 years after getting out of high school, he just disappears. I never knew what happened to this kid. I just knew that he had turned his life around. And lo and behold, I Google, because obviously I keep up with the Raiders and all that stuff, and the new team that they're bringing in for the training camp and all that stuff. And a while back, I Googled who's on the team and all that stuff, and I almost fell out of my freaking seat when I saw the name Lenny Jones. It was my guy. He had turned things around completely to where he had gone to the University of Nevada, built up a name for himself, got invited to the 49ers training camp. He didn't quite make that, but then he got picked up by the Raiders. I think he hung with the Raiders for a little bit, and then then he got signed by the Rams, and then the Cowboys is where he really blew up. And I'm looking at the picture of this guy and the growth. He looks like a freaking seasoned veteran, like a real man of like, he had he had filled out tremendously before. When I dealt with him in junior high, he was this tall stick, really skinny, but he was tall. Now this dude had filled out to where he was the size of some of the linebackers and the defensive ends that I was facing back when I played, and he had this look of pure uh, inspired football and just drive, as if he was like so locked in. It was on a whole nother level. And then he went on to go play for the Browns. And from my research, he's currently in Canada for the couple of Canada teams and stuff, still playing ball since back in the 2016. He's still out there balling in the pro level. Just like, wait, what? It was fantastic. Mr. Lenny Jones, I can say his name now because he had completely turned his life around in a ultra positive way, and I'm quite sure that he hugs his mom's neck daily because of it, because she dug deep, and then she said, "No, son, you're not going to be going down that road. You're not going to be one of these homeless people who's caught up on drugs, who's out there doing bad things. That stuff stops now." And when people ask me what my days were like as being a police officer, man, obviously I was in my chases and all that stuff. I was in my fights, and did my investigations. I ended up becoming a detective, a CID detective, and my desk was specialized in handling DV cases and abuse, all that stuff. And I took that on with the passion that I carried on from my first day as a police officer and all that stuff. So I have some fond memories of being a police officer. And so, do I encourage the youth to still go out there? 100%. I'm going to keep saying that because it takes a very, very special person to be a police officer. And it's very disheartening when you hear in the news the other day, it sounds like the parents of Gabby Petito, I believe, is this how you say her last name, are going to be suing the Utah Police Department that handled the case where they looked into the allegations of domestic violence that took place between her and that boyfriend. Sounds like her parents are going to be suing the police officers, and that's a tough one. It comes with the job, and I know the police officers know that, but they should also know that they did not do anything wrong, and they did, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion too, if you read the comments, they did pretty much everything that they were trained to do and everything they could have done in that type of situation. It's just, that's just the way it works as a police officer. And I think a lot of them accept that. And hopefully they don't get discouraged, and they know that as long as you follow your training and your policies and all that stuff, that you're going to be covered and you're going to be supported in the end, because you did your job. You did your job. And, so that's one thing I do miss about being a police officer right there, is being able to be there and at a moment's notice, I guess, when people need you, and having the mindset of, hey, I don't care how long it takes, we're going to resolve this situation in the best way possible. I'm not, if I don't need to take anybody to jail, I won't. But if someone has done something that definitely deserves going to jail, I ain't leaving until that happens. And that's that pride of that San Leandro police officer that came out of me. I was trained very, very well. I have a lot of respect for police officers, definitely San Leandro police officers, obviously. And so that's a great, important part of my life. And it all started with that ghost house that I bought. If it wasn't for my ghost house, I wouldn't even have been in San Leandro, and I would have never, if the ghost would have spoken to me, nah, man, you got to go, and then I'd had to leave, then I wouldn't have been a San Leandro police officer. But when we made our verbal agreement, they let me stay, and it turned out to be a fantastic experience. Kshed Uncuffed. man, I love sharing um, all the different things that has gone on, and I haven't even touched the surface, man. You know, let's keep in contact. Again, my email address is kshedduncuffed at gmail.com. Keep the emails coming because I'm able to kind of see what subject matters need to keep being talked about. And one of my next episodes coming up, I'm very happy to say that I will be speaking with Miss Amy Trask, former president of the and CEO of the then Oakland Raiders, and she's a fantastic person. She would always, back even when I was, no longer on the team and I was a police officer, she was so gracious and she would always call, make sure I was doing okay. If I needed anything, she was always there. What do you need? If I came over there I was part of a program to go talk to the youngsters or the new signees and all that stuff. If she heard that I was there, she would always come down and meet me in the front, and then she would hold a forum and she would tell, hey guys, you be nice to this dude. He's this and this and this, and then she would embarrass me with all these fantastic stories. And Amy Trask is a blessing to many different people in this world, NFL wise and gender wise. I got 2 girls, so having someone of her status still willing to sit down with me on my podcast, it's an amazing thing. So I'm looking forward to that one. Everybody keep in contact, keep in touch. This is going to be K-Shed, episode number 9, out.